there are things that are unique to any culture. It can be tricky to identify what those things are because there are no clear lines, right? Of course, there are exceptions to everything. So when we describe things that are unique to a culture, we're giving a generality. And we know, of course, there are going to be a million exceptions. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't identify trends. It can be interesting, especially, for example, if you're thinking about going to that place, interacting with people who live in that culture, and you want to know some things about it before you get there so that you don't make a huge mistake, right? For example, going to Japan, you want to know about some customs, some norms, so that you don't look like a big dumb idiot when you get there, right? China, same thing. When I got to China, I didn't look up anything. I was a kid, basically. And I did some dumb things, very dumb things. Then I learned, right? So there are some things also true about America that can help you, for example, if you visit America, but also understand the context of the language, right? The language is situated in the culture. So the English language, yes, but American English in particular, and how it fits with the culture more broadly. So again, these are just trends, but let's take a look at a list of, let's call them cultural characteristics, and 101 of these have been compiled by the University of Michigan Press. I want to see if I agree with them or don't agree with them, but let's just hop in. I think it'll be an interesting exercise. Let's see if these are right, wrong, strange, universal, actually unique to America, or what. Okay, so 101. Again, these are not from me. 101 characteristics of Americans or American culture. That's by itself kind of a loaded term. Americans well, my wife is an American, but she spent the first 25 years of her life in China, so she doesn't have the same cultural background, but she is an American. So, well, what about that? So, of course, it's generalities. All right? America is enormous, the third largest country in the world, with a population of more than 300 million people. That's not a cultural thing, all right? Americans come in all colors, have all types of religions, and speak many languages from all over the world. Very true. Americans are extremely independent, individualistic, and like to be different from each other. Generally, I think that is true, although there are many exceptions. I know many Americans who are not independent, who lived with their parents until the age of 30, or not individualistic at all. So, not universal, but generally true. 66% of Americans are overweight. 37% are obese. That means dangerously overweight. I think that's about right. Yeah. So how does that help you? I mean, you gotta move around people in the shopping. When you're going shopping, you have to walk further around people because they're so big. And look out for those little electric carts, because sometimes people are so fat that they need a little cart to drive around in Walmart in order to get around. Some people can't walk on their own. They're so fat. Americans believe in freedom of choice. Generally speaking, I would say that's pretty true. That's a common American norm. Americans need a lot of elbow room. They like personal space around them. Yeah, I think so. A lot of people don't like to be too close to other people. And there are different norms around this around the world. I've been to some places where that is the opposite of true. And I wasn't used to it at first. Well, people are so close to me. Got to adjust. Approximately 1% of Americans are homeless. All right, I'll trust them on that. Sounds about right. So many in, for example, New York and California. We're just going to do, by the way, not all 100 because it's a lot. I will link this below if you want to check out all of them. But we'll go through the first, let's say 25, just to get a sense for them. Americans talk easily to homeless, but use good judgment and are careful with whom they talk. No, I don't know what that means. That's a big generalization. I think number 8 here is really weird, and I would have left that out. Talk easily with the homeless. Really? That's a very person-by-person thing. I don't know if you could make that trend. Sadly, the streets of major cities are often dirty. Well, yes, that's true. Okay, fair enough. New York is so dirty, but I like it. I like how real New York is. The subway's disgusting, but it's awesome. Many people, especially teenagers, wear strange clothes and have many tattoos and body piercings. What? That is such a strange generalization. This is crazy. There are a lot of people in their, I would say just as many people in their 40s have tattoos because they used to be teenagers. And I feel like tattoos are becoming less common among, for example, the Zoomer generation. They don't have a lot of tattoos. My generation, the millennials, I would say generally a fair amount, but that's great. I don't think that's right at all. Americans follow the rule of law. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the law. Got to follow the law or you go to jail. Except for people who don't, in which case they don't. I don't know about that one. Some of these are getting a little weird. Littering, throwing garbage on the street, graffiti and tagging or writing on the walls, and loitering, standing around doing nothing, are against the law and punishable by fine or jail. Here's the thing about this one. Graffiti and tagging, painting on the wall, spray painting on the wall, you could potentially be arrested for that, right? Littering, there are technically fines for littering if you throw something, and if the police see you throw something, maybe they'll say, hey, pick that up. I've never seen anyone ever in my entire life get a fine for littering. Most people will just throw their stuff away in the garbage. And loitering, no way. Loitering, just standing around doing nothing, no. That's very misleading. Absolutely. Discriminating against or making any insulting statement about someone else's religion or ethnicity is against the law and could be punishable as a hate crime. What? This is incorrect. Now, there are discrimination laws. For example, hiring. You can't hire someone based on their religion or ethnicity. Like, we only hire Jewish people, or we only hire white people. You can't do that, for example. However, we have something in the United States called freedom of speech. So these are totally different. There are discrimination laws taking actions against people based on ethnicity or religion or gender. But this is not. There is no such thing legally as a hate crime, as far as I can tell. I guess there is technically, but the crime itself will be punished based on the law of the crime. So beating someone, for example, doesn't matter what's going on in your head. It's illegal to do that. That's assault, right? But an insulting statement, you can say anything you want to anybody at any time. If you want to go up to Joe Biden, the president of the United States, and call him a big, stupid, old dingus with no brain and no bones, you can say that. You can say, I don't like you, you're an idiot, and that's fine, right? You can say horrible things. Legally, it's protected in the United States. There are some things you can't do. For example, libel and slander, where you knowingly make up a lie to hurt someone and their reputation. That is illegal. And also there's things like inciting violence, to say, hey, go over there and attack that person. That is illegal too. But generally speaking, protected by the First Amendment. So I'm finding the first few of these. Yeah, oh, I agree. Nice, great. Oh, fantastic. Correct. What? Huh? Crazy. Not that. Of course, I'm not in favor of making insulting statements. I'm just saying it's not against the law. I just did that against Joe Biden. I just called him a big, dumb, fat, old turkey. He's not fat. A big, dumb, thin, old turkey. There you go. Legally, I'm able to do that and say things like that whenever I want. You must be over the age of 21 and have identification to buy alcohol. Correct. In most states, it is illegal to buy cigarettes if you are under the age of 18. Correct. And only smoke in certain places. Correct. Americans are extremely informal and call most people by their first name or nickname. First name, I think that generally that's correct. Yeah. Americans smile a lot and talk easily to strangers, sharing personal stories. I don't know. I haven't smiled since 2004, so I don't know about that. Asking how are you is simply a greeting and is not a question about your health. Yeah, that's true. How are you? I'm good. How about you? This is a good cultural point here. This is the first one that's actually very useful, I think, to understand. If you know that when someone says, how are you? That doesn't necessarily mean you need to tell them a whole story. It's more like, hey, what's up? Like that. Let's just do 25 of these. Just get a sense for this. And again, if you want to check out all of them, you can. But I'm not standing behind these all as true, 100%. I'm working on my own course about American culture from my own point of view, of course. But I think it's a lot more accurate than this. When Americans put their hands on their hips, they are usually relaxed. When they fold their arms tightly across their chest, they're angry or very serious. I don't know if that's something you could generalize to the whole culture. That's a tricky one. I don't know where they're getting that. Americans don't push or stand too close to anyone in line. They always wait their turn. Yeah, generally that is true. Yeah. In a restaurant, the server is usually very friendly and helpful and often will tell you his or her name. Yes, but you have to give a tip. When the service is good, tipping is expected to be 15 to 20%. Yes, that is correct. 20% actually. If you go to a restaurant, the reason that the waiter or waitress is nice to you is that you should give them a tip. Polite Americans eat with one hand while the other one is under the table on their lap. I think that's becoming much, much less a norm. I don't think that's true anymore. Usually when friends meet at a restaurant, they each pay their share of the bill or split the bill in half. It's called going Dutch. Yes, that's true. We do that, although it's not called going Dutch anymore. We just say, do you want to split the bill or let's split the bill? Last one. If you have guests over to your house, turn off the television. Make sure your music isn't too loud. Well, I thought this was about... This is not a generalization. This is an instruction. What? I don't know. These are getting weird. I'm finding some of them to be kind of inaccurate. These first 7 are pretty good. And then with 8, it starts to get weird. I think it's still worth reading through them. Generally, the best way to understand culture is to watch movies and TV shows. And if you can, visit. Have conversations with Americans and ask questions and see what works and what doesn't, right? As I mentioned, when I first went to China, I looked like an idiot all the time. And then I started to learn some things, some norms, some things that I should and shouldn't do. And that improved how I looked in general in China. It's just a process of trying things out. But you can still learn this sort of thing going in, knowing that some things might be out of date, like putting your hand under the table on your lap. Maybe, maybe not. And some things maybe just generalized statements that is someone's opinion, like this one sounds like to me. But keep an open mind regardless. Be flexible. And if you go to a country like the United States, you've never been there before, try to observe and be open to changing and doing as the Romans do, as they say.